Hey, what's up everybody? Happy fall, happy October, all that good stuff. Try live video here. It's taken over my screen here. Oh, I see what's happening. I have a video in the background playing on top of a video, which is just fine. How's everybody doing? This is like my absolute favorite time of year, and I love it. It's the perfect weather, and my workshop space here is actually, there's no air conditioning, there's no heat, but it's quiet. And when it's fall time around here in Atlanta, Georgia, it is beautiful. I want to say it's like probably mid-60s outside. I mean, it's just, you couldn't ask for better weather. And from way back when I was a kid, Halloween has always been my favorite holiday. It still is, which is why I have, of course, my appropriate zombie over here and sound cart, which stays in here year round for those of you who watch the channel regularly. And I got a couple cameras up today, first of which is the overhead cam. Let's talk about what's going on here today and what we're going to be doing. So I have my sound devices 633 with two 411s and an SRC that it's turned off right now. In fact, I don't even need this other 411 on, but I'll just leave it on just because. And I have the MacBook Pro. This is the 13-inch 2020 with 32 gigs of RAM, which I actually upgraded for the workshop so I could do streams in here, which I'm very excited. So far, so good. Although I will tell you the story later about how I nicked it with a compressed air can, so I kind of broke it in already. MixPre 3, which I'm actually not using right now, which is kind of the whole purpose of what we're going to do. And then, of course, the ATEM Mini. And it would not be a stream without me showing the what we're going to be doing here, which is we're going to be looking at the ATEM Software Control, which actually uses a Fairlight type interface. Being a Pro Tools user for many years, it's nice to kind of take a look at this interface and see what's possible. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of the workflows these days and things that are happening in the world of the production are just, it seems like we're working in just brand new ways. And it's amazing to me to see this kind of technology here and what's possible. And I really enjoy kind of pushing the limits and thinking about, like, you know, what do things sound like? What are different ways to work? Kind of like when you get a piece of gear and we're just geeking out. And in fact, I have these friends that I've had for like 20 years who, one of them in particular I'm thinking of, my buddy Mike Levine, and he is a professional musician. He owns a children's music company, and they produce high-level music and visual content for education, learning for young children. He's amazingly talented. But we like do these geek out sessions, and recently I was doing a mixing job, where he was involved, and it involved live streaming, and it was just, we were geeking out over it. So, and you know, we can kind of geek out, and you know, this live streaming platform and this capability that we have to come together and just hang out, you know, because there's the type of videos where, you know, they're more serious during the day with other industry professionals where we're just going to talk about the craft and this and that, but then there's also times just to kind of hang out and listen to gear, and that's what I'm going to do today. Because what's different is I am typically, for these live streams, I go through the MixPre 3. But today I'm not using the MixPre 3 because the ATEM Mini actually has a two 3.5 millimeter stereo inputs on mic 1 and 2. So here's where it gets kind of amusing. So earlier today, when I was kind of plugging all this in and seeing how it worked, because I have not even tried using these inputs. And in fact, when I saw them, I was quite suspicious. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to really use those. But then I said, well, let me give them a shot. As I was trying to get signal into it, and for some reason I thought that, I'll show you here with my screen share so you guys can see, I was getting a healthy signal here because this is my mic 1 input. And speaking of input, let me show you real quick in the audio preferences here what's going on. So the ATEM Mini is a live switcher interface, which probably everyone knows here who's watching this. And you have to split the mics here into mono channels if you want to use it as a mono source, which would be pretty typical for a mic level input. So where it threw me for a loop was that when I went to plug in to the mic input, I used, well, I had a balanced XLR female to a 3.5 millimeter tip ring sleeve, which would be a standard 3-pin balance connection. I'm thinking, okay, I can do mic or line level, which is the another option on this, which is super cool, I think, because so many of these devices you see are limited as far as the level is concerned. So under general, you can choose mic or line level. And I just happen to be going mic level. And then here on the desk, you can see that I have my 633, and in my output settings, I'm sending mic level to match, obviously. So to get back to the story of what happened is I was trying to get this thing to work, and there were two things right off the bat that I learned about this software. I mean, keep in mind, this is like a $300 interface, this here, and it's a 4-camera multi-cam switcher that has 2 stereo mic or line level inputs. So I'm running a balanced signal into the mic input 1, and of course, it's not working because this is a stereo 3.5 millimeter input. So when you try to send a balance line input into that, you're not going to be able to get signal. So this is a tricky connector, and I couldn't even imagine for like a just the average Joe who maybe isn't like a professional audio person like a lot of you here, coming in and trying to get this to work, because my assumption is some might try to just plug in a standard, 3.5 millimeter lavalier. And if it is a mono source, then it's probably not going to work in the stereo source depending upon the pin configuration of that particular lav. Like Sony's obviously are going to be different pin configuration on the 3.5 millimeter than, say, the Sennheisers that you would use with the G4, G3 systems versus like the Sony UWP-D11s. I digress. So anyway, I was convinced that there was something wrong with the ATEM because I was looking at my input on my streaming software, which I'll show you here, which is Ecamm. And let me actually go to that and show you what that looks like in the sound levels. So this is Ecamm Live, and I've chosen the Blackmagic design. And this is kind of the reality of a lot of these softwares. And I know a lot of you are out there working on productions where you're having to do live sends or feeds or professional type work that's kind of this new way of working that we're all doing. And I'm not talking about sound, I'm talking about the world. A lot of these organizations are having to think in ways that they never thought before and figure out these, whether it's OBS, which a lot of people use and I'm familiar with. I've used that. It was the first streaming platform I used. And now I use Ecamm, which is a Mac-based setup, which is why I decided to go with the 32 gig, 2 terabyte, 13-inch MacBook. But I will say this about this MacBook. And we are going to listen to the ATEM Mini, by the way, and I'm going to let you hear some of that. But this thing has a 720p camera. I want to show it to you. I think I can just include it in the switcher here. Hopefully I don't mess things up. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Let me switch to it. Let me show you. Oh, it's locked. It's like, it says, no, don't do this. Okay, let me unlock it here. Because for those of you who, there we go. So I'm going to go here and to this and show you. Okay, this is the camera on the MacBook Pro in 2020. Absolutely ridiculous. Not excusable by any means. So I had the hardest time trying to decide whether, do I really want to, because Apple, they didn't realize there was going to be a pandemic, obviously. And that sort of thing, I don't think anyone did, all joking aside. But so we're going to take a look at some of the features inside of, they should upgrade the camera. So I'm going to take a look at some of the features inside of the ATEM Software Control here, and then also let you hear like the compressor, the EQ. We can get a little bit into gates and expanders. I mean, how many of you guys out there, just out of curiosity, use that sort of thing in a broadcast environment or sound environment? Probably not many. I could imagine, when I think of gates, I think of, for those of you who come from the music world, I think of those snares that would time out, that would, in the 80s, that would have that incredible reverb, and they'd go doom, ka, doom, ka. It would just have that perfect cut that you could time with the music, which is the best use of a gate. And then, of course, you've got the, it could be feedback control, drums, but yeah, I'm curious if anyone uses that, And actually, I was quite surprised to see, I'm sure a lot of you watched the Sound Summit, and it took me like all weekend to watch the summit because I was like, okay, let me get to this part, let me get this part. There was so much amazing information. The Sound Summit that put on by Sound Devices, and hence the t-shirt, right? And Paul from Sound Devices Paul Isaacs, was doing a demonstration of the compressors that they have on the channel inputs. And then he referred to something about like in live settings and stuff like that. So it's amazing to me to see where that technology is going as well, like how they're really hitting these multiple markets now. Because I think, okay, compressor, limiter, yeah, probably a good thing. And that also exists on this system that we're going to check out today. So that's what's on the agenda. We're just kind of a casual setup here, enjoying the beautiful weather. I hope everything is like calm and beautiful where you're at. It was really nice to get out of the summer, guys. I mean, that was just, you put the, what was going on, which is, COVID on top of all of the heat and just, and the lack of work. And now it seems like things tend to be picking up and exploding, which gives me a lot of low-level anxiety, because I'm kind of used to this slower pace that we've been going to. And so anyway, I'm going to check in with you guys real quick, see how you're doing today. Thanks for tuning in tonight to a very impromptu type stream. Nighttime is usually just a time to chill out, hang out, geek about gear. So I hope to do some more streams in the evening on this channel and try to bring kind of a different vibe to those. And, because to me, it's kind of a time just to chill out, and the daytime is an excellent time where a lot of you guys have tuned into the Into the Mix streams, and those are really good for the professionals and talking like that. So let's go to some of the comments here and check in with you guys. Alejandro, great to see you. Thanks for being here. Hello, Levi. Also good to see you here. Always love seeing all the familiar names. A sound mixer's paradise. Absolutely, Alejandro. I try to, I try to make the vibe in here like a film set, you know, and above here is my follow cart, guys. This is the top of my follow cart. This thing is 400 pounds. I'm not gonna kid you. I haven't even been able to weigh it, but I know it's at least 400 pounds. But it's the perfect work surface to be able to do all of this stuff that we're doing here. Dan Newburn, Black Magic Design, definitely make some smart purchases. Buying out Fairlight was one of those. Dan, I had no idea that that was a buyout, which makes sense why it's all in there. I've been a Pro Tools user for many, many years. I started using Pro Tools in 1999, dating myself as an old person here. But that was Pro Tools 5, I think, maybe, on what's called a 001, which was one of their first kind of home studio recording interfaces. And Fairlight was like the other one that a lot of professionals used. And those two very much coincided a lot. But definitely really great to see those features in here in the Blackmagic ATEM, and we'll take a look at some of that software here as soon as we get through some of these comments. Yeah, Dan, you know what I'm talking about. Good old snare reverb. The kids don't know about that, Dan. You know what I mean? Don't tempt me, because I will figure out a way to do that here in this stream, just to demonstrate it. I don't know if have you guys ever heard of that software program called Propeller Head is the name of the company. They're out of Sweden. They made a program called Reason, which had a lot of really old school kind of, you know, and thinking about the gated reverbs and all the different synth sounds and just stuff that's just amazing. Levi says, I had to use a compressor on a speaker before. He just wouldn't stop yelling. Yeah, I mean, there you go, man. I mean, if you need to use it, use it. It's a tool just like anything else. I mean, I use compressors and EQs all the time for post-mixing. I just haven't had the opportunity to have these tools inside of the recorders. And it's not something I would typically want to do for a dialogue recording, but I like your point, Levi, because you know, you can send compressors out of bus outputs. I mean, there's all sorts of playback. I mean, there's a million scenarios for that. So really good point there. Dan says, I don't use gates for broadcast. A couple sports settings notwithstanding, but definitely use compression. That makes sense. And Dan, that's good to learn about you, that you do a lot of broadcast work. I have so much respect for what you guys do, working, especially if it's live broadcast, which I'm assuming is what you mean by broadcast. And it's all in the moment. I mean, you guys are, you know, the standard, you know, as far as, you know, everyone else is figuring out what you guys do now in this new landscape. And we have all this amazing technology now to pull that off. So that's good to learn about you, Dan. Hey, Rick, great to see you here. Rick Bazenza, really glad everyone could just kind of hang out and tune in. Right. Michael, loving the spooky shark fins. Thank you, Blaine. I appreciate it. It took me a moment to get this vibe in here, and it just kind of, I was like, hey, let me put a light here and put it on the fins. And this is my cart back here, guys. I know you can't see below it, but there's a CL12 below that. That's my 688. That is like my go-kart. Not that I drive around. The one that I can put in my car and go and work. And I'm actually going to be adding some monitor. I'm looking at some of the Lilliput ones that can take SDI, because that's on a film set. Obviously, you got to have that. And then just a little bookend light. Just making a couple notes for some stuff I got coming up. So yeah, thank you. All right. Blake says, Reason is awesome, love gates, but live stream, I ditched me too much weight and space. Yeah, that's so awesome you know about Reason, Blake. You know, this, you know, you could teach, Blake, you know, someone who's learning about sound, signal flow with Reason, because just for those of you who haven't used Reason, you can check it out. Like it's you could physically move the cables, and they were way ahead of their time. They had they're a Swedish company. Of course, they're ahead of their time. But you physically made the connections. So I used to teach that software, and it was a big tool for just getting people to learn that need a signal flow, because that's what we're really doing, right? I mean, on set, I mean, at the core of everything, and I almost feel like bad for some of the guys who are like starting out, because there's so much amazing technology. I don't really feel bad for them, but there's so much amazing technology and so many tools. It reminds me of all the plugins when people started going to DAWs, with Pro Tools and stacking all this stuff on there, and it really came down to just signal to noise, excellent microphones, excellent microphone placement, and to get back to my point is that it makes it harder to learn and practice the fundamentals of signal flow when you have all of this technology. And I look at the capabilities of some of these new recorders, like, I mean, even the X3, which I have on my main cart, which is that way off screen where you can't see, it has 24 subgroups, 2 master auxiliary outs, and then you can send those subgroups to any input channel of the 24 tracks, and then also send any subgroup to any hardware out. And each of the 24 subgroups has 8 assignable sources that you can send. And then I love those recorders, man, but they're mind-bending. Just there's something about it that just takes like a different thought process than using the sound devices recorders too, which I love. Like, to me, it's like I don't have to like choose. I don't have to go, I'm gonna be a sound devices guy, or I'm gonna be a Zaxcom guy. It's like, that's all foolishness. You could have them all, really. If you stay in it long enough and you make enough money where you could just buy the gear, then you just try it all out, go for what's strong. Oh, Dan, thanks for sharing with us. I work for a PBS affiliate, so the audio team does it all. Live broadcast, EFP, post sports. Wow. So yeah, I'd like to hang out with you guys for a day and learn about what you're doing. I bet you it's pretty amazing, some of the workflows, Dan, and just processes, and even I bet your comm systems are mind-bending as far as your communication systems and how you guys work together. I love that stuff. Thanks for sharing that with us. All right, so let's go ahead and dig in. Ken, good to see you, Ken Goodwin. Reason is so old now. Ken, so am I. No, I don't think people use it much anymore. No, I don't think so. And the last time I looked at it, Ken, it was so, like, they added so much to it to make everything so automatic. It was just like, they lost me. They had this really cool thing called Record. That was the name of the software before. It was Reason, and then they had software called Record that could record audio, because the old Reason couldn't record audio. And it was a big deal. That Reason was a doll, and it only lasted like a year and a half. And I got a t-shirt, and like many of my t-shirts, eventually they just disintegrate with holes. Like even this one probably doesn't have much time left. I need more shirts. I need to put that out there to the manufacturers there. If you want me to wear a shirt, please give me a shirt, because a lot of my shirts are starting to disintegrate. Literally, I wear them so long, because I'm an audio guy, just like you guys are audio guys, gals, and we wear the same clothing all the time. It's usually black, gray, or something, and it has some sort of obscure audio label. We're not the best dressers when it comes to style or anything like that, but if you send us a t-shirt, we will wear that shirt for probably 20 years. I mean, I do. Anyway, I don't know what you guys do. All right, so let's move right into it, guys. Let's talk about the signal flow here, first and foremost. Okay, so just to break it down, go back to this camera. This is a Sanken COS 11. And on my belt is, I'll try to, a SMQV, neatly by the way, neatly stowed. I'm going to show you all of, here, I'm going to do it with this. All of my cables are always wrapped with these 1-inch Velcro. And then what I do is I will tuck it on the belt. And I can't stand sloppy cables. To me, there's no reason for that. So that's the first signal path there. Then this transmitter is sending into the Electrosonics 411 that you see I know it's probably very small in the frame, but that's okay. The audio coming in here at a nice healthy level. And then here on the 633, you see I've got a nice healthy level into the input. I'm not hitting the limiter. If I said hello, you might see it. Sorry about that if I blasted anyone out, but it did engage that limiter. And from here, I have the trim, channel 2, trim to channel 2, and then on my output, which you're not going to be able to see, I'll just tell you I am sending down auxiliary. If anyone has superhuman sight, then you'll be able to see, oh, I don't want to change that right now, that we are actually sending out the right output directly into the input of the ATEM Mini. So the ATEM Mini takes a stereo 3.5 millimeter mic or line level input. So on the rear here,
Sorry, I missed that. Could you say it again, please?
Siri wants to be a part of the conversation, but we're not going to let her. No, Siri, go back to bed.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, so let's turn that off. Okay, so it's a 3.5 millimeter stereo input into the rear of this. That is what tripped me up because I used a balance line cable into this. And I was worried I didn't even have the right cable. There's something about 3.5 millimeter to TA3 mono or TA3 unbalanced stereo to 3.5 millimeter stereo, because you got both directions. And I ended up using one of those Comtech cables because, as you guys know who work in production audio, you have to have a special cable to send a Comtech out to a XLR 3-pin out. The pin configuration is different because it is a stereo output on the Comtech. And if you try to use a regular balanced cable, it's not going to work. That's what happened to me with this. So fortunately, the Comtech cable, which is a XLR male to a 3.5 millimeter TRS cable, goes into here. So then from there, we're going to open up the software now. So, and take a look at that. And we're actually going to not look at the sound levels. Now, I will go back to this though, because this is important to show you guys, because I just want to show you exactly what I'm doing. So this is the ATEM Software Control. And I want to show you a couple things about what's happening here. I'm going to close these windows just to keep things simple. And here we have our mic input. And notice that is split, which I showed you earlier. And for those of you who just joined the stream, I'll show you in the preferences here that we have the microphone. We can set mic or line level to those stereo inputs. And I emphasize stereo input. It will require the correct cable. I don't think a lav can even be plugged directly into this, which to me is kind of strange. I think their thought was, hey, this is kind of a prosumer device for streaming and switching, which it is. And maybe we just need to do like a mic level stereo input like you have on one of these not shotgun microphones, but microphones that mount on a DSLR. Anyway, I digress, because we're talking about input here. So then what I did is I sent a 1K tone out of the 633 into this channel, and I landed at minus 14.47 at mic level to get a minus 20 tone. And that's how I calibrated the system to know, and I'll go back to here to show you, that's how I calibrated the system to know that these levels are matching what's happening on the ATEM exactly. Because it's easy to get into this world of like, well, it's unity gain. If I'm 0 on my trim and I'm 0 on my fader level and my master level, then I have unity gain. And I find that more and more that is not the case, especially at a mic level input where it's working as a preamp of sorts. Line level might be a little bit closer, but that's what I had to do to make this work. So let's look at some of the cool features of this and wait no longer to showcase that stuff. So here, by clicking this icon, you'll see that you have input delay, which is huge. I'm doing 6 frames delay because it is taking the, let me go here. As you guys know, it's taking the camera longer to broadcast the signal down the HDMI cable to this switcher here than it is for the audio to send to the input. So those of you who are pros, you probably already know this stuff, or maybe you're kind of getting started. Just no matter where you're at, it's the audio is going to arrive later. If you're not feeding it directly into the camera, then it would just be all one. So that's a very nice feature to be able to do that, because my MixPre 3, for instance, does not have that in it, because I've got the old MixPre 3 version 1. And I don't need the 2 right now. I don't need 32-bit. There's already workarounds for because the 2 does have the output delay for the this exact purpose, but the 1 didn't get it. It was a firmware update. I was like, oh, you didn't get it. But the ATEM does it. But let's go back to the ATEM and listen to some of this stuff. And so this stereo stimulation, that's funny. The stereo simulation, I guess it could be stimulation depending upon how you view your listening experiences. I'm not sure about that. I'm assuming it requires 2 channels to do that. Something interesting, something I've never really seen before, I don't think. And then of course, let's look at the signal path. Here's an EQ. Okay. This is a pretty good looking EQ. And right now, let me go to the 633, which I'll do here real quick. All right. Let's go to 633 and make sure that there is no high pass filter. I'm going to turn off the limiters, and let's see here. Input limiter. Okay, well, it's at 18 dBu right now. All right, limiter off. Okay. I just wanted to make sure there was no limiter on the 633, so we were listening purely through the ATEM. So let's go to that. All right, so here we are in the ATEM Mini again, and now we're looking at the EQ. So I'm going to get, see here, this, see if we can get this out of the way. I want to get, well, fortunately it's not blocking because there's nothing below here where my picture is, guys. And actually here, I'll get rid of my picture and then that solves it. Beautiful. Okay. We have a low pass filter, and which is also adjustable to be a high pass or shelf EQ, which is all very nice and flexible. And it's interesting to me that you can change this to be a low pass filter, which cuts the high. And I'm going to sound really bad now. I totally disappeared because of that, so I'm not going to try to do any of that crazy stuff. But what I was saying is that here is the low pass filter, and then you also have a second low pass filter here, which is kind of wonky, but hey, that's okay. And let's go ahead and engage it and let you guys kind of listen to it. And to do so, I just simply engage it by pressing band 1 here. And that curve is a pretty, that looks at 6 dB per octave, meaning it's not too aggressive. And I'm trying to see if there's a more aggressive one, and there's not that I see, which is fine. And so anything below, the 6 dB is an excellent starting place because I can kind of cut closer to around 100, and you're probably not going to notice that huge of a difference. Here it is when it's off, and here it is when it's on, because there is also, see, this is sneaky stuff, as you guys know, because there's also a, here I want to show you this here. There's also a high pass on this too. And I'd have to look at it to see, oh, okay, so the low frequency roll off is currently set to 50. Now it's set to 35. So that's as low as it's going to go. It's not going to let me go any lower than 35. So I'm trying to get it as true as possible. Really, a cable would be the way to go. And I do have a 58 here I can plug in if we do it, but I figured we would do it with just this. All righty. All right, so I'm literally like seeing this the first time, just like you guys are, just, you know, or for all I know, you're ATEM gurus. So this is a shelf filter here, which I can also change to be different Q values or bandwidth. This actually just changes the curve, and I think the most useful one out of this would be that one here. And then a lot of the times, a lot of the garbage, and Dan is going to keep me honest on this, is sometimes in that low mid, there can just be some junk, especially if they're using a any sort of large diaphragm microphone in a small space. So a lot of the times that 250 to 500 range, you can kind of sweeten it up by doing that. Now here's what's really funky, and this is, I'm going to go into what, this is not an ATEM Mini commercial, okay, and I'm going to prove it to you. I can't monitor any of this. So I can sit here and make changes and you guys can hear it, but I can't. And the reason is that in order to monitor this and these changes, I have to use a complementary software. Ecamm is not capable of doing it because it's a very fundamental and very useful and powerful streaming program, but supposedly OBS can do it. But the thing about Blackmagic is they always want you to, they leave out like these key important things. Like I can't monitor this in Blackmagic unless you buy this whole other piece of live streaming hardware. But I can't criticize them because this is a very powerful setup for the money. But they definitely leave stuff off on purpose. So let's go back here and take a look at some more of this EQ. And, oh, I'm clicking in the wrong thing. Okay, so here we are back on the EQ. The other thing, and you guys probably know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Here is, oh wow. That, see, oh, that has, look, that has a fixed value for like notching out really bad I guess that could be good for sibilance because I don't think this has a de-esser. But and then you just choose your average. Ooh, this is ugly. Let's get out of that. Oh, but I do get a Q factor. That's an interesting little tool. So for here, a lot of the times you can get more presence out of a voice around the 3K range. Now keep in mind, guys, I can't hear this, so I can't be responsible. I mean, you should use your ears, geez. It's probably the first thing I should tell you guys is don't do this without listening. But I'm trying to use a wide or narrow Q, which basically is a larger Q factor, as they call it here. And I can boost specific frequencies here, 3 to 6K, and really kind of get that dialogue to pop. And finish it off. Maybe a little bit of air, maybe. That's always a tough call. Let's see here. Just a touch. Maybe a dB around 12K. Could probably help this sinking cost 11. And I feel like I overdid it on this. I feel like I overdid it on this low mid thing, which I'm always guilty of that. I always overdo it. Look how subtle my EQ is. Anyone ever heard that song, Safety Joe? So, that's kind of like how my EQ curves are. So the 633 also has output delay. Speaking of frame output delay, and Ecamm can also do it, and so can this. But the MixPre 3.1 can't, but version 2, for those of you who are lucky enough to have version 2, can. So yeah, I'm going to check in a little bit with you guys here. Go to some comments before we listen to the compressor. Now, I'm looking forward to listening to this compressor, but I'm curious, what do you guys think of the sound of this EQ? Who's hearing a difference? Who's saying, I don't hear anything at all? I'm not hearing any difference. I don't know, because I can't listen to it without buying more Blackmagic hardware. But in all seriousness, though, I did make a phone call because I was struggling. I was like, why can't I monitor my audio? Am I forgetting something like absolutely silly? But the guy who I called, who uses this device, he's got a couple of these in the ATEM Mini Pro as well. He said, no, you got to use OBS. You can't, I guess OBS is the workaround to make it work without having to buy more live streaming hardware, which I don't need. I say that and I'll end up with more of it. It'll be completely over the top. All right. Talking about, Alejandra says that's a dream job, to working in broadcast like that. Yeah, it's definitely a good gig right there. Dan's got a good gig. There's no doubt about it. We were still talking about, Ken. Ken, you know what's up, man. He's talking about, Ableton. Oh, don't get me started on Ableton at all. That software drove me crazy. Crazy. You know what it was about Ableton, guys, that really got me? When I was working at an audio school, which I did for 3 to 4 years, and taught sound and on different types of topics, the kids loved it. The students loved it, and they were always making stuff in it, and they didn't learn Pro Tools. And I would say, gotta learn Pro Tools. You gotta learn Pro Tools. These guys say, I want to work in the movies, and I want to sound design, and I want to do this. And I just, gotta know Pro Tools. Gotta know Pro Tools. Get out in the world. Talking to the studios and stuff like that. They're like, hey, I know Ableton's Live. We got no use for that. It was like the fast track for unemployment. And that's why I didn't like Ableton Live. Unless you're like a famous DJ, which there's probably a famous DJ out there right now going, you're wrong, who's got like a Mac Daddy, like MTV Yo Crib's house. He's like, you don't know what you talk about. Check out my crib. You're in your garage doing YouTube videos, and I got this $1 million Ferrari because I studied Ableton and didn't listen to your advice. The J Boo, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. J Boo 707, channel member, guys. By the way, what is channel memberships? You guys may have seen that on my channel. Channel memberships is an experiment in really education in YouTube. You know, a lot of this stuff it's social. It's also a good way to connect with the industry and learn things and stay informed and stuff like that. But channel memberships, I started, there's a Mix Junkie. And it's funny, I have all Mix Junkie members. And even the Soundbite members, because there's two memberships. Soundbite for like BTS, Mix Junkie for membership. And these guys are pros. They're all pros. These guys and gals, because we've got both, like a dozen right now. And we're doing workshops. We just did a workshop recording dialogue in cars. It's a lot of fun. So if you're thinking about like, hey, I'd like to learn some stuff and you want to see more focused tutorial type stuff, that's what channel memberships is for. And also for like BTS stuff too, because I thought that, you know, a lot of the time, you know, some of the stuff I want to talk about, do different things, are just kind of like not really in line with the production sound channel and kind of what this channel is. So it's kind of a good way to really kind of, you know, chill out and just kind of take out the formalities. Kind of like what we're doing tonight. All right, enough about that. Gives a lot of opportunities to hone diverse. Yeah, you know, I'd imagine, Dan, like, you got signal flow. If you're new to this, and ask Dan, because he's going to tell you, man, diversity and understanding and just really knowing what makes an audio system work and sound good is really cool. It's just part of the craft. Ken says, nix the vocal presence boost. Oh, is it really kicking, man? Let me get rid of it. See, I was hoping to check with you guys. Let's pull that back. Let's pull it. So Ken says, take out the presence boost. And that's this, guys, is what he's talking about right there. Yeah, 2.5 dB at 3K is, you know, let's see what that does. And I'm curious, you know, actually, I wonder if no, it won't let me do it. I was going to see if it would let me undo. I'm going to put it back where it was for a second. And let's see if you guys hear the difference. So, you know, because, I mean, we're streaming. It's obviously, I know you guys can hear the difference, but I just want to, you know, like, are you really hearing it through this live platform? So here's the EQ off. There's no EQ. There is, I mean, there's no high pass filter on the 633. The actual, I'm trying to think through this, guys. It's getting late in my mind. So there's no high pass filter, 35 hertz, which is, I mean, there's nothing there in this microphone. The 633, there's no limiter, there's no high pass filter there, and no EQ on the ATEM Control software. So that's that. So now I'm going to turn it back on. So there it is on. And Ken said, hey, get rid of that 2.5 dB of gain at 3.5K. Might be a little sizzly, but I'm curious, because what you guys are hearing, which I'm not hearing, is how's the quality of that EQ? And do you hear those fans turning on that MacBook Pro, man? I'm making it work. You're gonna work. Oh yeah, Chris notices it. Hey Chris, what's going on, man? Chris is he's here in the ATL, part of our sound community here. It's good to see you, brother. Hope you're staying busy. I know it's getting kind of nutty out there right now. So that's not a bad thing, considering we've all been sitting around for a long time. Oh, here's some good suggestions, and I need suggestions. Mike says, Loopback 2 might allow you to monitor, listen, but I find a slight delay when I do it. Oh yeah, that would drive me crazy. I mean, typically, Mike, I'm always doing the monitoring through the source. You know, like I'll monitor myself through the 633 or the Mix Pre 3. This has no headphone out. But I don't want you guys to think that I don't like this ATEM Mini, because I think it's awesome. This thing's 295 bucks. That's a steal for what it is. And I didn't buy the Pro because I didn't need the features that came with it, and no offense, but I didn't feel like it was very pro. So I didn't, you know, and it does offer some extra things that would be valuable, like such as the HDMI out, where you can see all your multiple cameras. So if you were like operating for somebody else, this could be a good starter system, I think, or portable system, you know. All right, so where did I leave that EQ at? Let's look. Let's see here. Where did we leave it? Oh, it's on. I'm probably driving Ken crazy. Ken, let me take that off and get rid of that. I appreciate that. I trust you guys, man. I know you guys, especially the people on this channel, you guys got good ears. I got respect for the questions I get on this channel, the community on this channel. I'm blown away with it. I'm blown away with it. There's even a guy on this channel, I'm not going to spoil it because I want to see if you guys even know who it is, who worked on Depeche Mode records. That's like my idol band. I mean, I grew up on Depeche Mode. I was like, what? That's amazing to me. All the people you can meet just from around the world, and I love that. I absolutely love it. All right. That band offer on. Oh, interesting. Dan's got a good question. He says, not a question, he says, it looks like if you click on the band X, it will toggle that band on or off. Yeah, let's take a look at that, Dan. Let's see here. I think, well, if you simply bypass, just click the actual, the name, that's what turns it off or on. But I'm looking to see, make sure I'm not missing anything. But yeah, to engage or disengage any of the bands. So that's a six band, really 4 band with a high pass, low pass, you know, filter. All right, but let's move on to the next one. We haven't even listened to let's just leave it like that for a second, unless anyone has any objections. We'll just leave that EQ on. And then we'll move right to the next session, which is the section, I can speak, dynamics. Ooh, this is where it gets fun. Let me put my image up the screen here so we can talk about this. There it is. Okay. All right. So let me move this out of the way. Okay. It's almost like I just miss having, you know, I gotta have a confession. I miss having just compressors and EQs in my workflow, and, you know, I love doing production mixing. But I miss having like the signal, like I don't get to see enough of this, but I am doing a 5.1 mix on a documentary coming up, which I'm very excited about. And so let's toggle back here to the ATEM software and look at the compressor. When would I use a compressor? Well, that's a really good question. In post, usually. If I'm balancing a mix, I think it has its place in live broadcast. I'm not a live broadcast engineer like Dan. I'm thinking more like what we're doing right now. You know, I've used it definitely on post mixing for all kinds of content. But live mixing, oh yeah, music, oh, all day long. Live mixing. It's a very useful tool that limits the dynamic range of the output level of a signal and can help balance a signal. So let's put a little compressor on there. Let's have some fun and make this, we can even make it awkward. So we have an expander, a gate, compressor, and a limiter. So let's go ahead and have some fun and engage that compressor. And right away, that threshold Here's minus 24.8. That is a aggressive threshold. And as you can see here, I am getting a gain reduction of about 5 dB, and my attack time is very fast. You have to be worried about as far as enunciation and things like that. The T's, the S's, anything that's fast can tend to be cut off if it's too fast of an attack time. And then you also have, what's interesting, here's something interesting, a hold with release. You don't see that every day on a compressor. So 3-to-1 is an excellent starting point for any compressor ratio. Now, if I was, if I really wanted to, become Mr. Serious for a live broadcast where I typically like to hit a minus, I'm thinking about this, guys, because I go back and forth on what I like for this channel, because I'm going to set the threshold on this to minus 20 here to start. And I'm going to notice that I'm getting about 3 dB of reduction. And I'm actually going to increase my release time here to 200 milliseconds. And that, if you notice, is not coming back as quickly. Let me try 300. Now I'm getting a little wonky here. It's hard, guys, because I can't hear it. I need your ears tonight. I'm going to make the attack time a little less aggressive here by making it not as fast. And you can even see how the gain reduction is a little smoother. And I was checking on the 633. Hold is awkward. I'm going to try it just because we can break the rules here. This is just weird to have. What hold is going to do is it's going to actually hold the amount of reduction. I wonder if the hold helps for fast-moving dialogue. I don't know. It's not something I see very often on a compressor. Usually you have the threshold, which is the point in which the compressor then works. And the ratio is every 3 dB over the threshold amount, there will be 1 dB of reduction. And then the attack time is how fast the compressor gets to the ratio audio reduction point. The hold time, which is unusual for a compressor. Dan, I got a question for you. Is a hold something typical with a broadcast compressor? Not something I see very often in like my wave suites and so forth. And then the release time, of course, that's 300 milliseconds. I want it to be not so fast that it's not helping smooth out the dialogue. So I'm going to go back to you guys because this is where I really need your help. I need everyone's here help for this. Okay, so what do you guys think? I'm using a compressor right now with a COS 11 on a live stream. How does it sound? What's the fidelity like? We have an EQ on there. The ATEM Mini, Blackmagic wants me to spend more money to listen to it. Or maybe someone could help me out with some of the options there. So, some good comments here. Good. Okay. So Dan says that low mid cut definitely cleans things up. Dan, I agree with you. That's a big problem point, and I'm glad your guys are hearing it here, and because this is the inside the software that comes with the ATEM Mini. This is their Fairlight buying money, in effect. Here, let's do some more comments. Brian says, lots of worship leaders and worship tech people use Ableton to mix and sync lyric sides. I mean, and Brian, I think I was one of those guys. That's an excellent point. That I don't know why I fought it like I did, because it is a powerful tool, and that's good to know. And I bet you for those who really know how to use it, and I have not used Ableton or even attempted to use Ableton, a full confession, in 18 years. So I'm sure it does a lot more than what it used to. All right, so And Dan says, hold isn't typically for compression, usually just in a gate. Exactly. I thought, and I appreciate you answering that, Dan, because I didn't know, like I wondered like what it's holding. Like let's look at it. Let's get silly for a second with it and see if we can get like a ridiculous value. And this is just dumb, guys, what I'm about to do. It looks like, here, I'm gonna get really aggressive with it. Test. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you hear pumping in the room. That's like a gate, what it's doing. You can see it, it's pretty clear. Yeah, not something, I think I'm just gonna go to 0 on that and just completely take it out. And look how, I think like this, you guys tell me. Visually and what I'm seeing like reduction wise, it looks like a properly set compressor as far as what it's doing. If your compressor's really, now if you're singing, if you're doing a rock band, like if you're recording the Killers, yeah, don't listen to this. That's not what we're talking about. But if, we're talking about production sound for what we're doing right now, live broadcast. Does it even make sense to have any sort of compressor on this setup? Maybe it does. I don't know. I'm learning about live streaming just as much as you guys. Remember that my work is I do primarily narrative production sound mixer. So I like to hear that fan on that MacBook Pro because it makes me feel like I'm getting my money's worth on it. And I like to see it work, Oh, I'll tell you guys the terrible story. So this, I was, compressed air, right? I'm cleaning a connector in here, and I put this down early in the morning. I get up 5 a.m. in the morning. I do 2 espressos, have my morning meditation, stuff like that, and I just get right to it. And this, I sat down the wrong way, and this went bam. This little tip went right into this brand new MacBook Pro and put a chip right here. You can't see it because it's really small. Actually, you can see it on camera a little bit. Damn, I'm still regretting it. But special note, if you have a compressed air with a metal tip, don't set it down next to your computer to it because it will work like a little miniature hammer. And that's what happened there. Cry myself to sleep tonight. Here's some good feedback on the compression from Dan. Let's see here. The initial compression settings were pretty jarring. Yeah, when we were just kind of messing around. Letting up the threshold helped. Yeah. But what I'm curious about is, it was funny, Dan, it's like when you said that, like my first reaction was like, yeah, I was just good. It's like typical sound guy, you know what I mean? Can't take any criticism. But what I'm curious about is that, what's the quality of this stuff, guys? Like, is it on point with, is it as good as the Avid plugins in Pro Tools, or is it, or does it sound suspiciously whatever? I mean, that's what's powerful about these new FPGA processing systems in these 8 series. That's recorders, just as a side note, that's how they got the compressors in there. And so, all right, let's see here. The kind of like Ken mentioned, the compression really helps for quiet talkers or talkers that have really wide dynamic range. Yep, that's good to know. That's good to know. And in a broadcast sense, I mean, we just don't, the problem with compression though too, I'll say, that you got to be wary of, and Dan, you know this, Ken knows this, a lot of you guys know this, but is that you can bring up the noise floor. Because if you have to do it, then you kind of pull it up, but it's better to be able to hear someone and stuff like that, and usually that's not a concern in those applications. Dan says, I just finished a live gardening show and the panel has a very wide range of how loud they talk. Curious, Dan, did you do insert compression on every channel and also maybe bus compression? It'd be interesting to know, of all and what kind of gear did you use for that? All right. Oh, that's rough with the chip. Yeah, man. There are always some kind of nicks in gear that you only notice and drives you nuts. Oh no, Blake, it's like, you're just like, no. But you know that new car, like if you get a new car, I haven't had a new car in years. I drive them till the wheels fall off. You know, I buy sound gear, right? Cars, whatever. But yeah, there's always that nick in the car and so forth. So so let's see if there's anything else here, guys. I'm getting to that loopy stage. Remember, I'm an early riser, so it's time for me to hit it in just a bit. So yeah, I mean, you also have these expanders and gates. I'll let you, the limiter is pretty good. Definitely a powerful feature for, you know, because you can do, this isn't like a limiter compressor, it's like a multi-band limiter or ultra maximizer where it brings up the lower level. It is actually a straight ahead brick wall limiter, because I'm not seeing any threshold on that. So this is what it sounds like with the limiter and compressor on. And that limiter is hitting it, man. That's like 5 dB down. That's a pretty, maybe we should make that not so aggressive. Test 1, 2. Oh, it's going the wrong way. Never mind. Test 1, 2. There it is. Oh, that's completely wrong. Sorry. All right, so I just took these knobs, I will say, are kind of, it's better to enter in the values because I'm noticing that it's just a little wonky. I wonder how it sounds with just a little touch of that limiter in there. And I probably, you know, probably wouldn't hurt to just kind of wake it up a little bit more. Test 1, 2, there it is. There is a compressor limiter in the chain here. Off topic, but you need to check out the Ecamm new interview mode. It works great for people to video call in and do interviews better than Zoom. Yeah, that's great, Mike. And I did see that. I joined thank you for bringing that. I joined the beta testers group. I downloaded it. I'm really excited at it because all my guests, you know, I use Ecamm Live for my live streaming on this channel. And my guests, I've been piped through Skype, and you know, some of the younger cats when I was doing Rodolfo Piedras, he was like, Skype? He was in disbelief, you know. I think they're, you know, so I think they're pretty happy to get off that and completely on topic, because we're looking at this live streaming stuff and talking sound and really dialing things in here. So thanks for the comment, Mike. And Ken says, in live theater, we tend to use our vocal compressors like soft limiters. The rest is all fingers on the faders. Nice, nice. You know, you bring up an excellent point because limiters, you know, when I think of the limiters, and you know, I use limiters in narrative production sound mixing, because really I just want to, you know, eliminate the possibility of clipping, but I'm not doing it to help smooth out the mix. But I could see how just a little bit of maybe compression at the top, as long as it was post fader, you know, from my context. But how cool is that mixing for theater? And that's really good, Ken. It's good to know about you. You know, Dan's broadcast, Ken's theater. Now I know. So when I see you guys, and I can ask you guys questions specifically. It's really nice to meet all the different crafts and so forth. So I'll give it just a second before I go for any questions you guys have about this setup. I like sharing just the different live streaming stuff as things evolve on the channel. And I really enjoyed spending some time this evening doing this live stream. It's, you know, I had no intentions of using this input on the ATEM Mini, but curious to see what your feedback is. Put it in the comments below. You know, what do you think of these compressors on the ATEM Mini software? It's called the ATEM Software Control, the Fairlight EQ, compressor, limiter, because I have all three on right now. And just for fun, before I sign off, let's go ahead and take all three off and bypass it. So there goes the EQ, and there goes the limiter, and there goes the compressor. So that is everything gone. And now you have no EQ, no compression, no limiting. And now we'll go ahead and turn everything back on, starting with the EQ, and then the compressor, then the limiter. And sorry you didn't see that on the screen, but if anything, you got a chance to listen with your ears. So, oh, actually, I think you did. No, you were looking at me. So, with that, guys, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for being here. Happy fall, everyone. Please be safe out there on set, and looking forward to seeing you on the next stream. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications tab so you can get notified when I do these impromptu live streams. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone very soon. Good night.